Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video, I'll be unboxing the Realme X2 Pro and giving you a quick hands-on review. So guys, here's the box, and just like always, Realme has brought in this phone with a lot of cool features at a pretty aggressive pricing. And as usual, they're selling it online on Flipkart and their own official website, that's realme.com. So here's the pricing information. Base variant starts at 30,000 rupees for 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, and the next variant is priced at 34,000 rupees for 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. It's available in two colors, Neptune Blue and Luna White, and we have the blue color. There's also another edition of Realme X2 Pro. It's called the Master Edition. It's available in two colors, red brick and concrete color, and that one is priced at 35,000 rupees and comes with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Now let's have a very quick look at some of the highlighting features. So this phone has an amazing 90Hz Super AMOLED display with Full HD Plus resolution, which also has HDR10 Plus support, and it even has a maximum brightness of 1000 nits. Next, it has a 50-watt Super VOOC fast charger, which is the first in its price segment. We are also getting some new features like the video bokeh effect that we have to see, and most importantly, my favorite feature of all would be stereo speakers, and that's definitely pretty exciting. Now let's have a quick physical overview of the box. On the top left corner, it says #1 quality smartphone brand. Beside that, we have the Realme branding. Below that, we have the phone's name itself, that's the Realme X2 Pro. Below that, we have some other jargon which isn't that impressive, and finally we have a quick preview of the phone itself, and it does look pretty good. On the left side and on the right side, we have the phone's name itself, that's Realme X2 Pro. On the back side, we have some specifications, IMEI number, pricing, and it is made in India, so that's pretty cool as well. Now let's open it up. So guys, once we open the box, we have another cardboard box at the top. It says, "Hey, welcome to Realme family," and at the bottom, we have the Realme branding. Now let's see what we got inside. So here are the contents. Next, we got some documentation and a soft silicone pouch with a tint to it. Looks pretty cool. Next, we have the phone itself. I'll just come back to it later. For now, let me just put that aside. Next, we have a cardboard separator. Following that, we have a USB Type-C charging cable. Next, we have a SIM card ejector, which looks pretty standard. And over here, we have the VOOC fast charger, or the 50-watt Super VOOC charger. So it looks pretty similar to a regular VOOC charger, but it is supposed to be super fast. So guys, these are all the contents of the box. Now let me just put everything aside and come back to the phone. So here's the phone and plastic wrapping. On the front, we have an indication for the in-display fingerprint scanner, which by the way I haven't mentioned till now. On the back, we have some quick information about SIM card trace, IMEI numbers, and some warning information. Now let me just remove this cover and then remove these stickers as well. So guys, this is how the phone looks on the back, and this is how it looks on the front. Now let's have a physical overview. On the back, this phone has a 3D curved Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for some extra protection, and beneath that it has a super reflective film which is almost like a mirror with a nice hue to it, and it does make some pretty interesting patterns when light reflects on it. At the center, we have the quad camera setup with a sapphire lens for additional protection. Beside that, we have dual LED flash and an engraving that says AI camera, and that's followed by the Realme branding. I don't know why, but for some reason Realme chose to put their branding over here, and it looks pretty bad. Anyway, on the front, you get a massive display with a dewdrop notch and a 2.5D curved Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for additional protection. Inside the notch, we have the front-facing camera, and above that, we have the earpiece which also acts like a stereo speaker. Below the display, it's completely plain, and the chin is pretty small. By the way, this phone also comes with a free screen guard pre-applied, which is something I really appreciate. Now for the sides. On the right side, it has a SIM card tray housing 2 nano SIM slots. There is no SD card support on this phone. Next, we have the power button with a nice accent color to it. At the top, it has just the secondary microphone for noise cancellation. On the left side, it has just the volume buttons. All these buttons are made of metal. They have a nice clicky feel to them, but I wish they were slightly more elevated and slightly more thicker. Now finally, at the bottom, we have the 3.5mm audio jack followed by the primary microphone, USB Type-C charging port, and the second speaker. Now this phone has a thickness of 8.7 mm and weighs 199 grams. By the way, these are the SAR values. Now in hand, phone doesn't feel all that thick, but it does have a bit of weight to it, slightly on the heavier side. This phone has a larger 4000 mAh battery and also has a glass back, and that's what makes this phone a bit more heavier than other phones. Now let me just try out this case. So this is how the phone looks with the case on. It is a slightly raised lip on the front, so it protects the display. And by the way, you also get a free screen guard pre-applied, so that's pretty cool as well. For the camera module, there is a very small raised lip, so it's almost negligible, and I wouldn't recommend you placing your phone directly on a flat surface because camera might come in contact with the surface. Besides that, it has all the regular cutouts. You also get this flap for the charging port, which can give you some water resistance as well. And with the case on, buttons are slightly hard to press. They are still clickable, but they are just slightly more harder to press. Overall, this case can give you some extra grip and prevent smudges, but that's all. For long-term use or for some extra protection, I would definitely recommend you to get a third-party case. Now these are the complete specifications of this phone. On the rear, this phone has a quad camera setup with a 64 megapixel primary camera with Samsung GW1 sensor and f1.8 aperture. That's followed by a 8 megapixel wide-angle camera with 115 degree field of view and f2.2 aperture. Next, we have a 13 megapixel telephoto lens with f2.5 aperture. Next, we have a 2 megapixel camera with f2.4 aperture just for taking portrait shots. For selfies, it has a 16 megapixel camera inside that notch. On the front, you get a massive 6.5-inch Dewdrop Super AMOLED display with Full HD Plus resolution with 90Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus support, and 1000 nits of maximum brightness. This phone has a 20:9 aspect ratio, so the phone looks a bit more longer than your regular phone. When it comes to performance, this phone sports a Snapdragon 855 Plus processor with Adreno 640 GPU with 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 128GB of UFS 3.0 storage. It will be running ColorOS 6.1 based on Android 9.0. Finally, this phone is powered by two 2000 mAh batteries, that's almost equivalent to 4000 mAh of battery. It also supports Super VOOC flash charge with a maximum output of 50 watts. This phone can get up to 80% of charge in just 30 minutes, even when you're playing games like PUBG. So that's a pretty cool thing. Besides that, you also get dual stereo speakers which are supported by Dolby Atmos, a new tactile engine motor for better haptics, a vapor cooling system for better thermals, and anti-lock gaming antenna which will just improve the overall Wi-Fi performance. So guys, those were all the complete specifications. Now let me turn on the phone and set it up and come back to you in a second. So guys, this is how the phone looks once we turn it on and set it up. This is the default launcher, and you also get an app drawer, so that's pretty cool as well. Now let's check the storage information. So out of that 8GB of RAM, we get about 3.81GB of RAM free, so that should be more than sufficient for a very smooth user experience. And out of that 128GB of storage, we get about 113GB of space for our user apps and user data. Once again, that should be more than sufficient for most people. Now let's check out the about page. This phone is running ColorOS version 6.1 based on Android 9, that's Android Pie, with the latest November security patch. And we also got a new feature called Dark Mode in Realme Lab. I'll talk more about that later. For now, let's check out the camera interface. So this is a camera interface for the rear camera, and it looks pretty similar to other Oppo and Realme phones. Over here, we have a button to do a quick zoom. This is 1x, we are using the 64 megapixel camera right now. And this is 2x, we are using the telephoto lens right now. And you can also go 5x, which is a hybrid optical zoom. Next, we can directly switch to the wide angle camera. Besides that, we can also use this toggle over here to switch between the primary camera and the wide angle camera. And now we are using the wide angle camera. Next, we have a toggle for chroma boost, which just makes the color look a bit more saturated. Now, if we go to video recording mode, we get some new features. First of all, we can record video in 4K resolution at 60 FPS. You can change the resolution and frame rate settings from here. Just go down there and you can change it from here. Besides that, we have ultra steady mode. Just enable that toggle and you get a super stable footage. It's just like super stable mode on Samsung phones. I'll show you sample shots later. Next, we can record video even with the wide angle camera by using that toggle. Next, we have a brand new feature which allows us to take video with a background blur effect. Once again, it's a feature just like live focus video on Samsung phones. Now, if we go to portrait mode, On this phone, we can also change the amount of background blur effect you want before taking a shot by using this toggle. Now if you click this button here, we get some extra options. First we have Ultra 64MP. Even though this phone has a 64 megapixel camera, by default it won't take pictures in 64 megapixel resolution. So for some reason if you want to take a bigger 64 megapixel picture, use this mode. It works really well in good lighting conditions. Next we have Nightscape, which is like a night mode from Realme to take better pictures in low lighting conditions. Next we also have Ultra Macro mode, which will allow you to take pictures from a very close distance. In this mode we will be using the wide angle camera. Now this is the interface for the front camera, and initial impressions, it doesn't look that impressive. On the right side we have the portrait mode, and once again we can change the amount of background blur effect we get using this toggle over here. On the left side we have video recording mode. We can record video at a maximum of 1080p resolution, and once again we can also record video with a background blur effect using this toggle over here. Now if you click this button over here, we get some extra options. We have Nightscape for selfies, so you can take better selfies even in low lighting conditions, so that's pretty cool as well. Next we also have Panorama mode for selfies, which will allow you to take wide angle selfies. You just have to tilt your phone left and right and you should be done. So guys, that's the camera interface. Now these are some sample shots. Now let's test the speaker loudness. By the way, this phone has dual stereo speakers, one over here and one at the bottom, and that too with Dolby Atmos support. So let's see how they sound.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. No, I don't wanna waste what's left. Till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on. This is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger. From London to my heroes tonight, we will fly above the sky.
So guys, speakers on this phone are super loud, and they are stereo speakers. They do work really well. They're gonna be great for ringtones, alarms and media consumption. Now let's test the fingerprint scanner. I've already set it up and here we go. So just like previous Realme phones with an in-display fingerprint scanner, even this phone is super fast. Almost comparable with the OnePlus 7T and the 7 Pro, or probably as good as those phones. It's just super fast. Definitely way faster than all the Samsung phones. There we have it. Now let's test the face unlock feature. I've already set it up and here we go. So just like other Realme phones and OnePlus phones, face unlock feature is super fast on this phone. It's almost instantaneous, and most of the time I can't even see the lock screen. It is just that fast in good lighting conditions. Now let's test it in low lighting conditions. And it is super fast even in low lighting conditions. Even in low lighting conditions, I'm not able to see the lock screen. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to test it in complete darkness. And because of that light compensation, it works really well. It is super fast even in complete darkness. So guys, that was the face unlock feature. Now the main highlight for this phone is that 90Hz refresh rate. I'm pretty sure you are not able to notice anything different from this phone and a regular Realme phone, but for me, I can clearly see that the animations are much more smoother. So that 90Hz display definitely works very well on this phone. With that said, current user interface on this phone is pretty bad. It doesn't have any cool animations to show off that 90Hz refresh rate. So for a regular user, it might not make a huge difference. If you're a gamer, you'll definitely love it. Now if you go to the display settings, we have the option to change the refresh rate. For some reason, if you want to slightly improve the battery life, you can go back to 60Hz refresh rate and save some battery. Next, as I've told you, we have the dark mode now, and you can enable it from Realme Lab. And once you enable it, this is how the phone looks. Before I conclude, these are the Antutu and Geekbench scores. So guys, this is the new Realme X2 Pro. Just like on the spec sheet, this phone is truly a flagship killer. It has literally everything that you can ask for in a flagship. A 90Hz refresh rate, massive battery, super fast charging, like it can be completely charged from 0 to 100% in about 35 minutes, so that's pretty cool as well. You're also getting AMOLED display, in-display fingerprint scanner, stereo speakers, and this phone also has a new haptic engine. Even though it's not the best, it's not as good as say Samsung phones, but it's still way better than other phones in this price segment, especially those Redmi K20 and the K20 Pro. Right now, its biggest downside would be its user interface. With Realme 7, it might improve. So guys, if you're looking for the best phone under 30,000 rupees, I can definitely recommend you this phone. With that said, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video on this phone or any other phone out there, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.